what is your general assessment of the ministry and the responsibilities on your shoulder?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important sector. A very important sector. Have three major subsectors: the forestry division, the lands division, obviously the mining division. It is as if when you walk in, what will engulf you immediately will be the mining sector. And it seems that in the last 2 months, I've spent a bit of time on the crisis we face. When you walk in the office and your first briefing from the Forestry Commission is that 288 forest reserves of your country, 44 are gone. And 9 of these forest areas are red, as in, to have codes. Red means that it's a no-go area for the forest guards and officers. Yellow, they can fight and manage, and all of a sudden, and green it's doing all right. And so when they give you these codes, you are an independent country like Ghana, that must engage your attention. When the Water Resource Commission says, Minister, you're welcome, but the 3 water systems in the country that is really the heart and soul of our country is really gone. It's polluted to the extent that our machines can't even treat anymore. The turbidity levels, which is normally supposed to be 500, is now between 5,000 and 12,000. And I won't even talk about the chemicals and all that, that are really not in. You saw also the rush to issue licenses in the face of this transition. I mean, and you look at the small-scale mining going on, it was as if everything is really gone wrong. So you needed to take your time for a start. First, we knew we had an emergency. My first engagement with the president was that we need to deal with this decisively and solve it, but in a way that does not disrupt the normal lives of Ghanaians. And that's what we've been doing. I'm very happy to say we've taken some very bold steps since we took over in this short period of time. I knew that what is required to address this problem is that the whole of Ghana must be on board. The people of Ghana at the various areas when these things are taking place must be engaged, must be made to understand, must be supportive. And we've been engaging chiefs, key stakeholders, we've been engaging even members of parliament. I had a shop with them. We've been engaging the media and others, and it's been very constructive. And this is also a work that requires that we increase enforcement. The collaboration with the Ministry of Interior and the Minister of Defense has been very helpful, with the Minister of Environment as well. So far, we've done over 60 or plus arrests, almost 70 arrests, seized over 60-something excavators, and all sorts of machines. But those bad guys are very unrelenting. We have so far taken over 7 of the red areas, and we're moving forward. All of a sudden, just last week, one of the biggest one, the shelter belt, when we think it's 10 yellow, they came brazenly to take it back.
Wow. And,
there were exchanges, and you saw some of the forest officers. One of them is currently fighting for his life. He just came out of surgery yesterday because he was brutally attacked. It's very, very clear that we have to be very unrelenting in our focus, especially on the enforcement side. And I think we have the highest assurance from the Defense Minister and his team and that they'll stand by us and work. It's obvious to me that the Minister of Interior will also have to do a lot of work in the mining areas. Some of these officers that have been in these areas, frankly, to be blunt, some of them are very compromised.
Honorable, simply put, very, very simply put,
yes.
Do you think that this battle can be won?
Yes. What gives me confidence is the political will. This whole thing is a political will. The leadership that must really go down, and the messaging and the leader must be very clear. We must fight this fight clearly, and I said it. You see what I've described? The things that gives us life. We just launched Tree for Life initiative. We just launched blue water gas and all of that. Now, if you see the level of devastation in these 44 forest reserves, and if you see how this is really cutting all the oxygen that makes every human being in Ghana live, you have to just understand and accept that anybody who does that, I don't care who you are, you can't be NDC comrades. You cannot. And we have to draw that line clearly, that anybody who decides that this is the way he is going to find gold. Mining is a very important business. Look, this small-scale mining sector gave Ghana over 4.5 billion 2024 alone. Yes, so it's not a sector that we must joke with, but we must make sure that we are mining for gold in a very responsible, sustainable manner. And we have systems in place to ensure that our institutions of state will do that. So, for example, the policy area in terms of the licensing regime must be overhauled, for example. Luckily for me, I come from a mining area. And how many times have I had chiefs come to me that somebody just walking, waving a prospecting license that he just came and he's coming to prospect. And guess where he's been given? A cocoa farm.
Wow.
And he walks in there, gather them, and say, this is so much, and in these villages probably said that this paper, the government can't do anything about it. We have to change that. And some of the policy changes we are already working very hard is to basically make a bottom-up approach instead of the top-down approach, and making sure that it is the district level headed by the DC and the dissect with the support of experts, EPA, Mincom and others, that will decide and recommend to the Minerals Commission and the Minister that we have engaged traditional leaders, everybody here. We really want to do small-scale mining. There was this thing that this previous government brought. It's a community mining. Was also a part of small-scale mining, and the only reason that this was that once it's community, the dispensation was smooth. I mean, because we are doing for community. Guess what? I set up a committee. We've studied that program. None of the communities in the so-called community mining areas knew about who owns that community mining. It was really in name only. It was actually in often places the former DCs who had brought a company and put a community name on it and basically doing their thing. We believe that we can have to restructure that and truly make sure that if we want these communities in these mining areas to help us, they do that well. We also have some part that the large-scale mining companies who are in these areas have to play. One of the root causes of problem, you heard about some of the challenging of boas and others. We have to reset the relationship between these mining companies and the communities in which they do their work. It's always been very combative, we against them, and often some of them forget these are the communities that have the social licenses, they assume that once we have our paperwork from Accra, it's enough, but it's not. And also, the land areas we give them are so huge that sometimes the communities are left just in poverty. I think that there are a few initiatives working with the finance minister, for example, where we are going to collaborate with these mining companies in these areas. For example, on road policy, how do we get them to put all these royalties into the kitty? You know how hot it is, but we must find a way to get them to at least give back with the support of government, so maybe we're offsetting, and so that these communities come back to life. I mean, I think that anytime I walk into a place like Obuasi, I've said, if you want to see injustice, come to this town. We must change all of that and change the licensing regime and strengthen it, and make sure that the people are part of this process, and make sure that people who are giving licenses are constantly being supervised that they are doing the right thing. Those are our focus. That's our focus.
We are dealing with militias.
Yes.
We are dealing with private armies.
Yes.
To what extent would this policy, about licensing and so on, change the situation when we're dealing with armed groups, heavily armed groups?
I think you make a very good point. The price of gold today announced $3,000 plus. It makes
it's a big incentive.
Serious incentive. And actually they've changed their modus operandi. It used to be that the small scale mine or these illegal miners will be mining, and they themselves have few no. Now they have so much resources that they are actually looking for bandits who are not afraid to die, to basically block. For example, in some of these forest areas that they've occupied, they block a whole road leading to them in barriers that you can't, you have to cross like 8 barriers to get to them, armed to the teeth. And the kind of sophisticated machinery that I reportedly been told is very welcome. But I think that there's a big difference apart from the political world. I think that something happened. You won't believe this, but from 2022 there was no military intervention in our forest reserve, even while we were increasing the issuance of license of forest reserve. There was no military intervention for roughly almost 3 years, until we came in. And so it was like free for all, and that is why the forest areas became what it is, and that is why it's not been so easy to try to take it back. I think they are getting the message. I am even more encouraged by the new changes that has happened and the commitment. We're having an engagement with the CDS today. I believe that we are coordinating very well, and I think we are properly aligned that the enforcement must be ruthless and must be sustained. And also, I'll give you another statistics. 835 arrests for that whole period. Ask me how many people actually were prosecuted. 35.
You arrested almost 900 people involved in Galamsey and prosecuted
35 of them, actually successfully in the period. I have talked to the Attorney General. I even went to the Chief Justice. I've told the Attorney General that this is the worst thing that will happen. I remember our first arrest was in the Western region, about 9 Chinese. And then I got a call from the commander. Minister, the calls are coming in. I said, Commander, you are empowered to do your job. And listen, this is a different time. This is a different new day. The Minister of Interior won't call you. I know that. He won't call you. And guess what? I will not call you. As a matter of fact, anybody in this country who calls you, let me know. The only person that must instruct me to tell you to release anybody somehow is the President of the Republic and the Vice President who supports him. But I know they will never call me on this matter. So please do your job if you are hearing it. And I think that this is too important. This is too important. We must be very clear that there is no room, because this. Look, I was giving them statistics about the levels we've gotten to. Some of the journalists were asking me, 2 months, we need to change. I said, we use 8 years to destroy everything, please. I think you need to give us a little time to unwind. 6.2 billion Ghana cedi is the value of excavators we bring every year.
One excavator?
No, the total value of the excavator. That's the third largest items we imported in the country. It must tell you something. Why are we using these excavators and chamfines for? It's illegal mining. Illegal mining. And we have to, and we began the process of engaging transport to make sure we tighten all those processes. Who are the owners who are renting or buying these excavators for people to engage in these illegalities that is destroying our forests and our water bodies? Are they these big guys in Accra who are so untouchable, who are only sitting there waiting for the big money to come?
In the last election campaign, actually, one politician said that a serious fight against Galamsey will cost them the elections.
I'm not surprised he said that. I'm not surprised he said that because I think that the people we are dealing with have resources. I told you, have resources. They are making millions of dollars. Dollars, I mean. And if we don't stand up, I'm not going to be surprised that one day this group of people will have what it takes to probably run this country. They are already doing everything, and I don't think that I want to say people of Ghana, but I mean, why is it that we are not successful in prosecuting them? This is how it starts. When they are able to get into the enforcement system, get into our courts, and now get the audacity to start to make sure they take the political space. And so we are dealing with a very serious matter. But I believe that the president's commitment and his focus and determination is what will make the difference. And I'm very determined to work with my colleagues to make sure we overcome this challenge.
I've had some very disturbing reports about the medical consequences.
Yes.
The medical authorities are speaking about children being born with multiple organs, some being born with cancer at birth,
Yes.
born at birth with cancer, some born without limbs and some born without eyes and so on. And they say that this is attributable to Galamsey.
I have first-hand knowledge of it. Just 3 months ago, a river in my area, all of a sudden we saw the fishes that had all sorts of diseases, all sorts of
fishes.
Yes. And the results is very damning.
But look at this. Is that also your responsibility, dealing with the fallout, the medical fallout of Galamsey? Is that also your responsibility?
No, we have institutions that are responsible. For example, the Minister of Water Resources. Water Resource Commission is really part of it. The truth of the matter is that the levels of what cyanide importation in this country is beyond anything. But go to the port and check the volumes of cyanide. You won't see it. And some of the information that we are gathering is that cyanide is entering our country in droves, in trucks, from our Togo border, for example. So in this whole fight, every institution, what is happening in our border? What is the customs and immigration doing? So there's so much blame to go around, but I don't think that's what we have to do. It is really the time to make sure that we coordinate better, and also do our own internal cleanup. If you ask me honestly, anybody who goes to work in a mining area as a police officer cannot be there for 5 years. No. And so there's more we have to do, but it is becoming very clear that we are beginning to see signs of a country that bad guys are trying to overrun us. That's the crisis we face, and I think that we came in the right time. And in the last 2 months, the steps we've taken gives me hope, because we are doing everything possible. I remember launching the river guards, and I had all sorts of interesting comments. I mean, the Navy now has a responsibility to also help us with our internal water systems. But the Navy capacity in terms of people to man these water bodies, it's not going to be, it's not possible. So the Navy will make interventions once in a while when they hear. How do we deal with it? And then it goes to the first thing I said. The people of Ghana must be part of this process. And so I said, why don't we working with the Navy to recruit people who lives along these river banks, who are really the people who are bearing the brunt of this crisis. Getting young people to be trained, to be, the word is indoctrinated, to be made to understand that they can stand up. And they are not soldiers, they are not going to have sophisticated combat, but they can work in the spirit of the young pioneer. Informing and coordinating with the Navy. The Navy is going to have rivering bases along these river banks, so that they will reach all these places on a short notice. And they are training them, and they are going to be in charge of the command and control. And I think that we must really do all the things we can. There's a discussion about what we do with our forests, especially making sure that we can constantly get the army to help us with the forest guards. But as I said, the forest guards need a lot of support when it comes to our forest reserve. The devastation in our forests, if you see it, you will not walk away the same. We launched the Tree for Life initiative, and the president himself was there. 5,000 hectares, that's 7,500 football fields. That is gone. 7,500 football fields of forest cover that it's giving us life. That's what is wiped out. And how do we bring it back? The Tree for Life initiative is not only going to focus on reforestation, but we also are going to try to extend it outside the forest reserve and plant more trees in a lot of areas, and bring it to even our coastal areas and cities within, and cooperate with the Ministry of Agric to also plant fruit trees and encourage young people, especially school children, in the habit of planting trees. And so this is a very important initiative as well. So, but we will get there. I think all of this I'm talking about is happening in just 2 months in office.
Yeah. That's quite impressive. I've driven around and I've seen these huge craters, huge holes, left as a result of this galamsey.
Sometimes by the roadside.
By the roadside.
Yes.
Bridges collapsing because they dug under.
They're digging the gold.
And so, how do you propose to deal with this level of damage? Not just the cutting of trees, but the destruction of the land itself.
There are fundamental things that needs to be done. This craze to look for the gold no matter what. When they believe that the gold is under your house, in the night when you're sleeping, they'll go there. They break the house down. One of the sad stories about all of this is we took our eye off on a critical institution, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority. This is the agency that must be empowered and resourced to identify all the mineralized areas, so that the state knows everywhere where gold is. How do you now I come to you and I said I want to do mining. I said, okay, I'll give you this license. You, the private person, go and look around.
Do a prospect.
And when you find the gold, then come and then we will now. How helpless is that? I have proposed, and we are working very hard at it, to strengthen the capacity of the Geological Survey, and to make sure that we can get them to work and identify areas where we can now focus people's attention. Everybody is digging everywhere like we are losing our head because they don't know where the gold is. So we are digging to see where the gold is. I think that we will first have to begin by organizing it better, making sure that we can put thousands and thousands. This is where the light-scale people come in. We have to have some changes there. You have mined in this area for 10 years. You say that you are finished. You have moved on. This rock, you have done everything. You've left it. For 15 years, you have not even gone there. This is the only area that the people have. They can't farm there. But even the abandoned area, you don't even want them to come close. You shoot them with the support of our own military. How? How do we work with the large-scale mining companies? I was talking to them recently, and I said, every university nurtures primary school and secondary schools and build capacity so that exactly what are you doing to strengthen the capacity of the communities and letting them also work, making millions of dollars, and their roads are bad, no water, and they can't even get a place to work. We have to change that. Make sure that we are collaborating with the mining companies to leave out areas that they finish mining, and also helping build the capacity of the local people to do it in a way that makes it more organized, safety provided. We have geologists there guiding them. A lot of the people who are doing this damage, they have no idea how to do mining.
Very interesting. I mean, now the focus is on gold.
Yes.
But there are other minerals.
Yes.
Like diamonds.
That's right.
In the Equatorial area and so on.
Yes.
Why is there the shift in focus? Is it just because of the world price or some?
Well, the world price, and let this be true. Ghana is the gold coast. This is the world's largest producer of gold. We have a lot of gold. We can turn it to our advantage. And just think about how long gold has been produced.
Yeah.
I mean, go to the Queen's Palace and look at how much gold is there. But even all these years, we still have a lot of reserves of gold. We must organize it better and change our view. For example, I mean, I would say that this is the only resource that has not visibly helped our country. Even the shortest period of time that we had oil, see how local content came in to basically strengthen Ghanaian capacity. It took us a very long time. Even today when we are trying to implement local content, there's so much resistance somewhere. We must also change the dynamics. One of the reforms we are bringing is the licensing. We have only small scale and then large scale. So we have not given Ghanaians the opportunity to build capacity and move to large scale, for example. So somebody has a small scale, which is about 25 kilometers, 25 hectares of land, a small scale mining area. But he has built that capacity, and because he wants to expand, he will go for a second license, a third license, all small scale. One person may have 20 licenses.